Post it because I'm not sure, but I'm hearing that several U.S. bases in Iraq are under attack, likely by Iraqi resistance.
That's probably true. I can believe that.
Is it though? I don't want to.
Well, I mean,
I
if
don't
you
want to be the cause of breaking, causing
could,
U.S. to
but
throw away.
technically it would make sense since they emptied out those bases because of Iran. So I was thinking about this. Those bases are now empty. This will be an opportune time for anyone to really capture those bases.
The issue you've got is I see personnel there in this image that I'm looking at now. The first thing. The second thing is it seemed like the whole claim was that the entire U.S. Iran
Well,
disagreement.
reported as allegedly, not confirmed.
Yeah, Jackson posted it actually just like 5 minutes ago.
Right. Okay. They'll keep a skeleton crew in the base, but that doesn't mean that they are. That's a good defense. So yeah, that base means that those bases will be vulnerable to those sort of.
No, but my point is, I get what you're saying, but there's a ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. They said, "Oh, look, all matters have concluded," all that kind of stuff. This kind of restarts that. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I get it. I just think that I don't believe that those militia are under Iran's control. The other thing I wanted to note, and I think most of our listeners are going to be aware of this, with this assassination, even if they have succeeded, because of the nature of it, the entire nation would go into a state of mourning. So I don't think they would announce it, even if it is true. They're probably going to give it at least 24 hours. Maybe less. Maybe it'll be like tomorrow midday or something, but I don't think they would. Because it would literally cause chaos in all of Iran, and I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if that had happened, though, the Israelis would announce it, like they did for Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah and various others.
True, but they did get it wrong a lot of times as well, let's be fair. Especially with Mohammed Daif. They got it wrong quite a few times with him. They assassinated that guy loads of times. Abu
Oh
Ubaidah was the
yeah, yeah.
same.
Look, you can't trust Desire media.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they did report it.
Oh yeah,
About
they would.
yeah.
But they would, because then they actually do want to break the spirit of the Muslims, and this is something that's part of the game. It's part of the war tactic. It's how they play.
All of this does smell like a psyop to me. In light of the kind of deliveries of continuous supplies from China, and we haven't talked about the railroad link that recently came online. I don't know if Truth has any more to say about that. But in light of the deliveries of support to Iran, even with the assassination, if it's true, which smells like a psyop, yeah, I don't know.
Like we just
This
don't know
doesn't
what's going on.
sound this doesn't ring true to me at this stage.
You're right, but at the same time, if you remember the assassination on Ismail Hani Allah yarhamu, and how they managed to get him whilst he was in Iran, it shows that there is a degree of infiltration, which is apparent, and it's you can't deny it. So it's just like we don't know, and it's quite clear that even with Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, they were able to get to him, which tells me that they've had sellouts, you know, um, who have done this because
Yeah, Zionists are actually thinking that there may have been like a coup as well. This is possible.
is that what
They
this?
claim
Is that how they're portraying it?
against the supreme leader, and they're saying that's the only way this agreement was done. That's why I was trying to explain that if this happened, then this could have been part of the agreement. I'm not saying it happened. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying from a because the resistance, like, oh, how could that be? I was trying to explain, like, let's say hypothetically an agreement was. I'm not saying this happened, by the way, guys. I'm just proposing like what could have happened, a possible speculation, which probably has zero merit in terms of if it really happened or not. But hypothetically, if it did happen, in that Trump and Vance actually make a deal with the reformists. Part of the agreement is, look, we're going to do a ceasefire agreement. You guys agree to the agreement. We want this in the agreement. You help us take the supreme leader out, overthrow him, and then you guys are now in charge. So I'm saying that could have been, and then so then that becomes the agreement, and then them 6 hour windows there where Israel's continuing to allow to strike. Israel's striking, um, minds are turned. People are looking at the strikes, and then you take them out. I'm saying that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I'd love to get Amir Razado here to talk, because that sounds like an impossibility, only because of the fact that the army would probably take over in that situation, who are very hardliners themselves, and they would not allow the reformists in a coup like that. You'd have to get the army on board with the reformists to do that, and I just don't believe that would be the case. The reformists would probably the reformists would probably be killed by the army, and you'll just have a military coup instead. If they try to if they aided and abetted with the Zionists and the US to kill the supreme leader, it would be like, yeah, a military coup instead. And also, from what we're hearing, the reformists and the conservatives are are closer than they've ever been during this time. They're pretty much united. Yes, they'll still have their disagreements, and afterwards they'll go back to their disagreements. But right now, in this state, they are united. So I don't think they'd want to jeopardize that.
Stranger things have happened.
And they know that the US and the Zionists and the Israelis are snakes in the grass. They know they would never want to trust them. Otherwise, it'll be pretty foolish to do
Some
that.
more breaking news: unconfirmed reports that another nuclear scientist was just assassinated in Tehran. I know what you're saying, but I think like sometimes you've got to understand that there is infiltration, there is these kind of things happening. I mean, as much as people want to deny it, but you should not be able to get and kill someone like Ismail Hania in Iran without there being a
Infiltration.
It's
significant.
completely different, Suleiman. In Lebanon, and Ibrahim will be the first one to say it's completely different. If Lebanon is a captured country, it's an American country basically. It's a Zionist. It's partly Zionist controlled country. It's not like Iran. Iran has got supreme sovereignty and control of its entire borders, everything. Whereas you have thousands of American and Zionist NGOs in Lebanon, and they captured
No,
the
but I'm talking about Ismail Hania.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Hassan Nasrallah. Sorry, yeah.
No, I said Ismail Hania was
Sorry,
killed in
sorry.
Iran. Hassan
Yeah,
Nasrallah wasn't
sorry,
killed
sorry,
in
sorry,
Iran, right?
sorry. My bad, my bad. But even with regards to Hassan Nasrallah, but Ismail Haniyeh, yeah. I mean, they could have in that time. That is probably the most opportune time, because the defenses and the guard is down by Iran. But I don't. But under this state where everyone is actually being vigilant, even the people are basically uncovering all these Mossad spies themselves, just and making calls to the police to capture them. So everyone's being more vigilant in this sort of time. It's still possible. I'm not saying it's not. It's still possible to assassinate the supreme leader and anybody else for that matter. But it's more of the fact is that they had a deal, that the United States and Israel had a deal with the reformists, and then to take over the country. That is the more unrealistic side of things, because of how the structure of the Iranian governance and their parties work.
I don't know. I mean, how did they get rid of Shah of Iran? Do you remember? Was it not done in a very similar fashion? Was he not backed by the French initially? I mean, how many coups have
I
there been in the
yeah
Muslim
I
nation states? Like
yeah I
anything
mean he
with
was
these people, I'm just going to be very frank and say that anything's fucking possible. Excuse my language, but it really is. Like they have done it successfully time and time again. Our history's littered with it. The amount of coups we've had in a lot of the Muslim states, in fact. Egypt was one. We had one in Tunisia, the so-called Arab Spring, which was literally set up by Mark Zuckerberg and his cronies. Then you had, I mean, this is even before the internet. Like, so you had the Arab Spring. That's when you had the advent of the internet, where it's a lot easier to mobilize people. And the Western powers funded it. There was a coup attempt in Turkey. There's been coups in Pakistan. I mean, the list goes on and on. And it's always at these sort of times that these things happen. Like I said, anything's possible.
We're also getting some reports from Fox and Reuters, which say Trump managed to get the Emir of Qatar to pressure Iran into accepting a ceasefire deal after telling him Israel was willing to cease attacks. So once again, proving the point that this was highly pressured from the Israeli side to try and get some kind of ceasefire.
But if you remember rightly, what's Trump's goal been? He's been talking about regime change. So I don't think he's going to come to a conclusion where he's going to
It's
say,
a
right, we'll
setup.
ceasefire. Yep, bingo. Exactly. He's clearly...
Can never trust the Jews.
The Western propaganda
You're right.
narrative that they said that CIA and Mossad helped Ayatollah Khomeini to move from France to be the leader of Iran, to overthrow the Shah, because he was in Paris at the time. I don't believe that. I don't believe that line of story. I do know that that's what they tend to do, but if that was the
I
case,
think he was
it's very bad
probably...
calculation
I
on
think
their
he probably
part.
was helped along the way,
Well,
but he cut his puppet strings very early on. That's a
on-
potentiality.
yeah, only because the Shah was the Shah, even though he said that
So resistance, why do you think that there's not been any, like, if you look at the assassinations, there has been, since this 12 days have started or whatever, number of high-level nuclear scientists have been killed. Number of
So I
people
got
from...
one more update for you. This is
Yeah.
from Force News, which is partly funded by the IRGC. It's where they do their leaks. That the ceasefire plan proposed by Trump is completely false and aims to divert public attention from the recent humiliation of the U.S. by attacking its bases in the region. The source confirmed, noting that no official or unofficial ceasefire proposal has been received from Iran, stating, in response to this media atmosphere, the Islamic Republic of Iran will demonstrate to the Zionist regime the falsity of this claim practically and on the ground in the coming hours. So wait and see. That's an IRGC source.
It's more bombing coming.
I've got more faith in that,
So
Suleiman.
Trump could take that ceasefire agreement and shove it.
yeah, makes sense.
And let's say the supreme leader has been assassinated. Both of the his child and the grandson of the previous supreme leader are both dead, decapitated. What's next? I mean, what is the real option here? I
He's
think
got 3 nominees. They have a
Yeah,
succession
there's
plan.
actually
Stop trying
5
to be so
nominees.
dramatic, man. What the fuck's
Yeah,
wrong with you? Why do you talk
th-
so much shit? Okay, this isn't. They don't operate like the Arabs. Do you understand? Their leader dies, so that's it. They're gonna what? Quit? It doesn't
yeah.
work that way.
I,
Okay,
I
only
I'm,
the
I'm
Arabs are
agreeing
fucking
with you,
quitters. They're the ones
Truth.
that give in to the Jews. You
I,
understand? They're the
There's
quitters.
actually,
They're the
yeah,
ones that
Truth,
sign the fucking ceasefire
Truth is
agreements
gonna go
and all their
nuts.
bullshit. Okay, they already
truth,
have three. They already have 3 nominees, and there's a
Here
succession
goes
plan in
Truth
place,
on his
just like there has been
tirade,
for every
not letting
commander,
All
anybody
right,
just like there
truth,
speak.
has been
truth.
for every
This
nuclear
guy's
One second,
scientist.
crazy.
guys.
It's
He's
already been
absolutely
replaced.
crazy.
This
You
is
gotta
Guys,
stop this, Truth.
calm down,
just
calm
shut
down,
the fuck
guys.
up.
This
Calm
guy's a
down,
nut.
guys. Calm down. Right. Truth. Rather than losing it, bro, because we asked this question, we're just going through it. We're looking at the possibilities, right? That's the whole point of the
The
discussion.
guy's smart, but he's an
The
absolute
5 possible
psychopath.
successors you're referring to, who are they? And
3.
what
He is not
and what's
named.
their viewpoints?
He absolutely is not named who they are for security reasons. I just have an insider source that there's already a succession plan in place in the event of and beyond just his son.
Truth is correct, by the way. I was just asking the question to work it out. He's correct. Everything he just
so
said there was actually correct.
Bro, he just smashed you, bro. Just smash him back, even though he's right.
Well, he's telling the truth.
Yeah, but just smash him back.
Truth, you bitch. Come
So
on.
am I. You're an instigator, huh? You just come here to start trouble. We already got
I've been
Ginny
hanging
here to
around with
talk his bullshit about Syria.
I've been hanging around with Gary too much. Guys,
See that,
just gonna
Solomon? You
couple
just admitted you hang around too much with Jews, they take you down the subversive path. Keep your
as a
distance. You've
joke.
been warned.
I love
Look what
juice. I love orange
Laura did
juice.
to
I
her
love
friend.
apple
Laura Loomer did
juice.
that to her friend.
I love
And look what
grape
happened to
juice.
Jake Shields. You can't trust the Jews.
I love juice too.
Lol. Right, so a couple of breaking news. The first one is Tulsi Gabbard's official statement. She says only Trump. Oh my God, this chick. Only Trump could have achieved this historic agreement that that brings us closer to peace. That was Tulsi Gabbard, and then we also have another statement, and it gives more information about the assassination of the nuclear scientist. And it is impact of 3 projectiles on the residence of nuclear scientist Dr. Siddiqui Saber in Tehran. He had also survived an unsuccessful assassination attempt in the early hours of the attacks, and his sons were killed. So he basically survived an earlier assassination attempt, survived it, and then they managed to kill him and his son.
Wait, breaking news. Israel-Iran ceasefire now officially in effect. Iranian officials confirmed to France 24 that if Israel continues to attack after 3:30 Tel Aviv time, the deal is void.
What?
Yep, just in like a few seconds
France,
ago, literally
France
a minute
24
ago.
is a Zionist newspaper, so news organization.
Somebody said
I don't
before
trust
Israel's
them
going to fuck
anyways.
this up, and he's
That's
right.
every. That's
They literally hosted today Reza Pahlavi, basically, and just made him spew out all the propaganda that basically tantamounting to saying, "Oh, this is a really important time for Iran. We can, the people need to rise up, take a revolution, and then I will come and save Iran together with the lovely people of Iran." I mean, it was just all bullshit, and hosted by France News 24. It was complete crap in Paris today. But anyways, to answer your question, Suleimani, Suleiman, sorry, to answer your question, Sully, regarding the 5 names. So obviously the grandson of Khomeini, and then you got the son of Khomeini, and then you got this Mohsen Qawmi, Mohsen Iraqi, and Ghulam Hosseini. So those are the 5 in total. Both all have strengths and weaknesses. A mixture of hardline and a bit more liberal.
Apparently, the ceasefire should have just gone into effect. It's the time now.
How is that? I thought the tweet said 6 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours, this hours, that hours. How is it in effect now? How is it Iran's been bombarding them and there's been no response from Iran? Israel's been
Interesting. I'm seeing AF post that, and it's 3:33 was a time that I saw, and I think it's 3:33 now.
But do you have any other source other than France 24, Adam?
No.
Yeah, so.
No, if this is true, this is a bad sign.
Also, Israel is very
Or it's
happy
just a
about the
false
ceasefire,
flag.
so I know it's bad. Could be.
Right, let's bring in some new voices. Damien, what do you think? Do you believe there's ceasefire?
Well, I mean, my media response is, it's difficult to believe the word Donald Trump says because he's a proven liar. Ditto Netanyahu. I think what's happening is, if I'm looking for a reliable source of information, I'd go to somebody like Professor Mohammed Morandi from the University of Tehran, who an hour ago posted that the announcement by Donald Trump is in fact fake news. My interpretation of what's happening is that Trump is made this announcement. It's twofold strategy from Trump. He's made this announcement to try to, I think, bounce both Israel and Iran into a ceasefire. And he's doing that to get us, firstly, to get a ceasefire, but secondly, his second reason is to try to divert blame for the war. It's understandable why Israel would want a ceasefire because it's losing the war. I think that Trump has been fed false intelligence by advisors about Iran's capabilities, and being told that they are not that they don't have as many missiles as they actually do. And he's gone ahead and made the announcement on that basis.
Breaking. Semi-official Iranian state media, Fast News, reports basically Trump's announcement about Iran agreeing to a ceasefire is completely false, and that Iran will prove this fact on the ground soon.
Right. Okay. So that's confirmed.
Where was that from? That was from Tehran Times, right?
Fast News.
Oh, Fast News. I got the same thing from Tehran Times as well.
Okay, so what's going on, I think, is the report came from Donald Trump's social media account. As I said, Donald Trump's a notorious liar, so he's not a credible, reliable source of information. That information is now being spread by the Western mainstream media, There are no. That's the only reference that they've got. Donald Trump's social media account, and so we've just had another. That's the second source now. So we've got Professor Morandi, who said it's fake news. We've got a second source that somebody has just mentioned that is saying that it's fake information, it's misinformation.
I posted a
And I
third
think,
one, Damien.
sorry,
There's a third one, a third official.
and a third. So we've got three sources now. So I think what's happening, and there's, I think what's happening is what I predicted would happen when Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel would stop its attacks when it had achieved its objectives. He said that because he was looking for an exit strategy, because what they're trying to do is that they are trying
I'll put
to,
the reference for the. Sorry about this, and I'll give it
yeah,
back to you. I'll put the reference of Tehran Times saying it in the nest. So this Tehran Times, Fars News, and Professor Morandi, and who else said it? Anyway, them three at a minimum said that
Those
there
are
is no
three solid
ceasefire.
It was
sources
the
right there.
I'm getting
advisor
some
to the
reports.
Speaker of Parliament.
I'm getting some reports that there's some strikes in Israel now going on.
right. Okay, so I think what's happening here is that Israel's losing the war, and they are trying to create a false narrative where they can then turn around and say, we're having a ceasefire. And then when Iran says, well, we don't agree to that, they will say that Iran has broken the terms of the ceasefire. And then that will shift the fact that America and Israel have launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran, and say they will then lie and say that Iran didn't agree to this, has broken the ceasefire, and then cast Iran as the aggressor. So this is they've lost the
It's a
actual
classic bait
war,
and switch.
and they're trying to win the propaganda war. And I think that's what is happening here. And I had a feeling that they were going to try and play this card because of the facts on the ground that Israel's losing. So then they were going to try and say, originally, I think the plan was for Netanyahu to say, we've achieved our objectives and we're ending hostilities. And then when Iran said, well, no, actually, we haven't finished. We're retaliating, and these are our demands to end the war, then they would cast Iran as the aggressor. So that's my view of what's happening.
Yep, it seems absolutely viable.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I was actually funny enough when you start speaking, that hit my head as well. I thought that could be a possibility. And just because I kind of was tweeting at the same time and I'm still tweeting, just to summarize quickly as fast as possible your point, you're trying to say that in reality there is no ceasefire. They're lying about it. So when Iran bombs Israel in retaliation, they'll claim Iran broke the ceasefire, and this will force the United States to jump in. Is that a good summary of what you said?
That's basically what I'm saying. And this
Not
isn't
necessarily jump in, but win
yeah,
support from the MAGAs to say, hey, look, Iran breached the ceasefire agreement. Therefore, Israel now has a just cause with the war. Doesn't necessarily mean U.S. will jump in.
Yeah, I said this a while ago. It's a false flag.
you see, the problem is for America and Israel is they've spent decades, they've spent a lot of money and a lot of time on demonizing Iran. And the problem was because they launched this illegal war of aggression against Iran, and with Iraq so fresh in many people's memories, they weren't pulling it off. And the global South, Russia, China, the
We
majority
are
of
hearing
people.
reports that there is possibly going to be, or there is in the process of being a rocket barrage launch from Iran to Israel right now. Sorry,
Right.
that tweet's on this. Go ahead. Sorry, dive
Yeah,
in.
yeah, and that's obviously they want to send a clear message. So the world's on Iran's side, and America and Israel have spent decades worth of propaganda demonizing Iran, and they've really got some nerve because this is the second time that they've attempted regime change. Um, it's people are sick of it. We are. I'm from Britain. So, you would think that I would be sort of on the side of the West, and I sort of, you know, I'm a UK citizen who is disgusted by the actions of the American empire and by the apartheid state of Israel, you know, and the West is, if the West, let's put it this way, that if the West thinks that it's defending an apartheid state which is committing genocide against the Palestinians and launching illegal wars of aggression against other countries is a hill worth dying on, then the leaders of those Western countries are literally insane. And we need to remove them from office by all legal means at our disposal, because these people are a menace to world peace. But they've spent, yeah, I mean, this is their last desperate card, because they thought everyone hated Iran as much as they do, and the majority of the world doesn't. The majority of the world is on Iran's side.
Damien, look, I'll tell you the only way, and honestly, this is not financial advice, but you just got to stop paying your taxes, man. I don't know how you guys can still pay taxes to governments like this. Like, and I'll leave it there. But
What you want them? You want both to get arrested by the RA?
I mean, they can come and try and arrest me, bro. I don't mind.
Well, they won't try. They'll put you in jail.
I'll go to jail for that.
Not the IRA, it's the IRS.
I'd rather go
Sorry,
to jail
RS.
than die for Israel, man.
I mean, we need to vote these people out. That's what we need to do. You know, we need to.
Voting doesn't work, man. It doesn't work anymore. Like, who are you going to vote in instead of them? It's just going to be
doesn't
another
work.
Jewish-funded puppet.
Well, I don't want to sort of get into the sort of so the
you
strategy
can't vote
that
these
I look
people
at voting.
out.
I don't want to divert the
You
conversation.
tried to do it with
but
Trump and
I
it didn't
appreciate
work,
what you're
did
saying
it?
about the major parties are all they work for their donors. They don't work for voters. But I'm a socialist, so I vote socialist candidates. And I think we need a popular left-wing front, a combination of independent candidates, socialist candidates, just people who put people before profit. And they don't even need to be one party, but we just need, for example, in the UK Parliament, to return, say, if we had 100 out of 650 MPs who actually represented the interests of their constituents rather than their donors, then they could make demands on amendments. So whenever the government wanted to pass legislation, they could say, look, okay, you want to do this, well, then you have to increase the minimum wage to £15 an hour, or you have to nationalise energy, water, transport. You know, you have to do these things if you want our votes. But I think this comes back to one of the points why Iran's being attacked and why these countries keep being attacked is because, and Libya was attacked, was because energy, water, these basic human needs should be nationalized.
Getting footage records the glow of an explosion in Pachin near Tehran, recorded before the ceasefire came into effect. Sorry, back to them.
Yeah, so we all our public goods should be publicly owned, not privately owned, and that's one of the reasons America keeps going around destroying people's countries to steal their stuff and their resources. And if they were, you know, energy, water, you know, trains, these things should be the banks should be publicly owned and not privately owned. But I don't want to detract the conversation away from what we're talking about. Basically, they've lost the real war. Iran's lost the war, and now they're trying to flip it and win the propaganda war. So,
You mean Israel's lost the war, not Iran?
Sorry, Israel's lost the war. Iran can keep going for 6 months, but I think another 6 weeks worth of sustained attacks will finish off the apartheid regime which is running Israel, and this is a very for a president of the United States to come out with just blatant lies like this, I think shows how desperate they are that they're resorting to these kind of tactics.
Tweet in the nest. Apparently, all Israeli airstrikes have stopped. Apparently, there is a ceasefire.
On their side, but time will tell. I mean, look, it's equivalent to them literally
How does that work with your timing in Trump's tweet? Is that what he meant, like by top of the hour?
No,
Like,
no, it doesn't. I think even the Israelis are confused. It doesn't work with timing with Trump's tweet. They've got so confused that they think, oh, it's time for us to stop now.
oh, Trump got confused. He has
Oh,
got dementia.
but I mean, it does make.
No, I think it is their time to stop now, because if they were to continue,
Yeah, I know,
this is
but
not like the other
but
small militaries they were
at the
facing
very
before.
least, it should be Iran that should stop now. And then Trump's message is saying that actually Israel's still got another 6 hours for them to stop, right? So they could continue for another 6 hours. But and then they'll stop, and then that's when then you give a 12-hour pause to see that nobody continues after that.
Some more reports coming out. Israel say we have more goals in Iran, but we have achieved the main goal, and these are historic moments. This is from Channel 12. Go ahead, bro. Continue.
Yeah, I don't know what those the main goal is. Which is what is it? The nuclear facility? Because that's not the
No, I
case.
think it's a
That's
third of
their claim.
it's a third of Tel
Have
Aviv
they taken
getting
out Khamenei?
ransacked.
That is it. Yeah, I don't know what the main goal is because they haven't achieved anything.
No, but resistance. The problem is too with what you were saying earlier is like if they were to strike Iran after like a so-called ceasefire, Iran would strike back right away.
I get it. I get it. But that's how it's worded. Like first of all, after 6 hours, Iran stops. Right? Iran starts their ceasefire, basically stops all hostilities.
I
After
got
6
really big breaking news, really big. This is the Iranian foreign minister now. So this is the actual foreign minister. He's just tweeted it. As Iran has repeatedly made clear, Israel launched war on Iran, not the other way around. As of now, there is no agreement or any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. However, provided that Israeli regime, provided the Israeli regime stops its Israeli aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. in Tehran time, I don't know what time it is now, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards. The final decision of the cessation will be made later.
So they're even pondering it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, sorry, resistance.
Wow, yeah, that's massive.
So Trump was trying to claim credit, something he deserves no credit for.
No, I don't think it was planned. I agree with them. I don't think anything was planned, but they just put it out. Trump was just making phone calls to people, and they said they're open. And I'm surprised even Iran was open to that.
Bro, this guy's statement also makes no sense. Like, what are these guys talking about?
He's basically saying we didn't agree to any plan, but if the Israelis stop by 4 a.m. Iran time, which is I think it's in 10 minutes or 9 minutes, whatever, isn't it? Then we will see, and we'll decide.
Oh, they'll stop, all right. They'll stop, they'll
decide
recoup, and then they'll strike again.
exactly, and we'll decide later whether we should maintain this, whether we should retaliate or not,
Just
or
the
start.
last Israeli response was that, yeah, they'll abide by a ceasefire, but if Iran responds, then they're going to respond after.
Exactly.
So basically, Israel got to put Iran in flames because they did significant bombing and bombarding there. They got to kill at least one or two nuclear scientists, one high-ranking official, and now there's a ceasefire.
But I think it's 15, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a bad look.
They've assassinated 15 people, generals and nuclear scientists.
No, sorry,
Oh,
I mean since Trump's announcement.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's what makes it even more crazy. He said since Trump's announcement, and we're all thinking that this is since the start of this back and forth. That's crazy.
Well, Trump did say to complete your mission, you got 6 hours. But Iran's got 6 hours to complete their mission, and Israel's got 12 hours to complete. But again,
Yeah, but if you follow that, then you're starting to play Trump's and the genociders game, and that's where the danger comes in.
exactly. I would not trust them one bit, and just do your own thing, Iran.
Because we saw what they do to the resistance. They'll stop for like a few hours here and there, and then they just start going at it again.
Okay, so
they're going to start, even if they do agree a ceasefire, I guarantee you they're going to take out another nuclear scientist, and then they assassinate somebody else, and then they'll do a mini airstrike here and somewhere in Iran, and all while there's a ceasefire, just like in Lebanon. Whereas, and in now Lebanon, they've just gone crazy the last few days in Lebanon, South Lebanon.
So let's look at this tweet and let's see the tweet's in the nest for the audience to check out. So he's saying Iran has made clear Israel launched war on Iran, not the other way around. That's factual. As of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. Okay, so they're saying there's no agreement.
Yeah.
However, provided that the Israeli regime stop their illegal aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards.
Yeah, so
So I
basically,
think the
yeah,
final
okay.
decision on the cessation of military operation will be made later. So it sounds like what he's saying is there is no agreement for ceasefire. It sounds like what he agreed to with the Qataris is, guys, because it's something he's consistently actually said. He's been very consistent on this. Margot love the word consistency. So he's been very consistent. He's actually said, look, I don't want to have any conversation about any ceasefire agreement until Israel stops bombing us. And so it seems like what the agreement in his mind is Israel's going to stop bombing, which is 4 a.m. And now he'll be open to the possibility of negotiating a ceasefire at that juncture. So it seems like that's what the conversation is.
And
But I guess there is a
Really,
it's four
really
guys.
form
quickly
of a
though,
Just a
sense.
heads up. It's
I just want to
4:23
add.
Tehran time right now.
Yeah,
4:23.
exactly. So so it's 20 minutes
Uh,
past that deadline, and actually, I guess France 24 was not propaganda; it was true. So basically, if there's any bombing on Israel's part on Iranian land, then there's Iran's sort of olive branch is voided. But that was 23 minutes ago, because
But then is Iran allowed to respond is the point, because like Iran just got blasted like a lot
Exactly.
just now.
Yes.
Exactly.
then I guess it's
I've-
voided then.
So that tweet's very interesting. So what the Iran's foreign minister has said actually puts Iran back in control. So he is saying that if Israel stops, then there will be a temporary ceasefire during which negotiations will be held. And if Israel breaks if Israel breaks the temporary ceasefire, then obviously
Yeah,
that
but
will
what we're
affect
saying is
Iran.
That's not
Israel has
control.
actually bombed Iran
Yeah.
after the 4 a.m. deadline, right? So, and it's already passed. So
Uh,
basically,
I,
Iran's olive branch is gone now.
okay, I've
No,
got
they
some
didn't.
breaking
They didn't bomb
news.
after the ceasefire.
Yeah,
Guys,
they have.
breaking news from Al
Oh, okay.
Jazeera. Just a quick one. Apparently, according to Al Jazeera, the Israeli officials are reportedly under a gag order to not speak about the ceasefire. It's an interesting development, right? So you got to ask yourself why have they got a gag order on a ceasefire? That literally tells me that there is no ceasefire. This
Yeah.
is just speculation.
Yeah, we were speculating on that already, because that was posted like a couple of hours ago. But to be
But
honest,
in a way, based on what he's saying, there kind of is like a temporary ceasefire.
yeah,
Yeah, it's in
yeah.
words. It's not set in stone, so
But
to
I
speak.
wouldn't even say that's control from Iran. I wouldn't say control. Iran's in control of it. I would say Iran is appearing weak right now.
I agree. Because and what makes him more weak is your ceasefire was that Israel can literally bomb you, bombard you. If you look at some of the images, like I put some of
Yeah,
them up, there's so many. They've really blasted Iran in the last few hours and killed a couple of nuclear scientists, as I said, and possibly one really high. Well, we know allegedly there's one really high, someone with a high position who's also been hit. We don't know who that is, and against there's an alternative reporting and that. So to then be like, okay, now you've done it, and now there's gonna be a ceasefire. It's literally saying to someone, "Oh, you can punch me 2 minutes, and then we'll stop." It's like ridiculous. Henry, jump in.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys, just in lieu of what's going on, do you think that this story that's leaked out about the death or assassination, whatever, of uh, of the leader of the supreme leader, is this? Do you think perhaps again like a misdirection, or do you think they're going to try to match Trump's deception? Step by step, perhaps inspire some resistance or some. I mean, there's the socialist bleeding hearts in the street of the West right now, guys. I mean,
I
it's
don't
worth
think
trying
Iran
to
plays
take
the same
advantage of
game.
that.
I don't think
Say again.
I don't think Iran plays the same game that Israel and America do. I think they have some morals and principles, and they're not going to play those kind of games that Israel and America have been playing.
No, fair enough, man. It's just you're in the middle of war, and it's just it might be a momentum shifter or just like a I don't know how to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, like I think everyone said, we don't know the extent of the damage. We don't have insider knowledge on how much Iran is hurt. We don't know what they are. I mean, them agreeing to a last minute ceasefire that they never really knew about. You know, that does seem a little bit desperate, in my opinion, and a little bit weak.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It doesn't seem. Yeah, I agree with you guys. It doesn't seem to check out. It doesn't seem to add up. It's a little bizarre, for sure.
Like you said, it's amazing that no one else is covering, but not surprising.
We were hearing
because
reports about the Iraq's Al Ain base moments ago and drone
a lot of
strikes
people don't
on
agree with
Baghdad
this.
airport
There's a
happened,
lot of propaganda
as
going
well.
on supporting it.
Time for the Houthis to attack Israel now.
I think Iran are trying to protect their citizens. We should take that into account, because you know, Israelis, the IDF indiscriminately kills civilians. You know, it's doing it in Gaza, it's doing it in Iran. So there is that factor to take into account. We're dealing with psychopaths here who have do not care about human life. So there is that factor to consider as well. Whilst Iran's attacks have been on targeting military facilities.
Well, I'm all for peace. Like, I hate war, but I just think that Iran has, if this is true, it's like the biggest flop ever.
Yeah, I agree.
And to be honest, Abbas, the foreign minister Abbas Araghchi's statement basically is telling us there's a temporary ceasefire, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Pending negotiations, so it really does depend what those negotiations are.
Yeah,
But
but
I
Damien,
think
do you really think Trump can be trusted right now? I mean, how do you even go into negotiations? What do you do? What's the protocol? What's the framework? You know what I mean? To have any assurances?
They're going to have to be carried out, aren't they? They're going to have to be carried out immediately. We know that that Israel and America haven't honoured the Lebanon or the Gaza ceasefires. So first of all, they'll need to honour those as well, and they will need to. I think one test would be to say to the IDF, get out of Gaza immediately. And then if they don't do that, you know, phase one, get out of Gaza in 24 hours. If they don't do that, then you're in, you know, the negotiations are going to fail. So set a very, very strong concrete measure, which has to be immediately conceded.
There's no such thing as a ceasefire of Israel.
Well, if it isn't, then Iran could carry on. It's got the upper hand. It's winning the war. It doesn't want to lose the momentum. It's done a lot of damage to Israel already. A lot of damage that's going to take Israel years to recover from. But they do have to bear in mind that if, you know, Israel's attacking and killing civilians in Iran to try to force regime change, that's its last chance at regime change. So I'm sure, you know, Iran's leaders are sensitive towards that, and towards protecting the population.
exactly. I
You
think
know,
I think Iran, they're not playing the same game Israel is, right? They actually care about their civilians and their citizens dying, whereas Israel really doesn't give a crap whether their own civilians die. We know this through the Hannibal Directive, for example, right?
Even reports from Iran are saying that tonight's attack from Israel has been the strongest since the beginning of the war. So basically, they got to hit their strongest, most ferocious attacks since the start of the war, and then now there's a ceasefire.
I don't believe that's happening. I mean, I don't understand. It wouldn't make sense to me because Iran's in a powerful position right now. And I think they should push things further. And like Damien said, I think they should
But
push.
you agree there's a temporary ceasefire, right? That
I don't
Abbas
know.
Araghchi's kind of confirmed that.
Oh, okay. I mean, talking about what I think Iran should do, I think they should push for what Damien
Yeah, I mean,
said.
I agree with you. I think, look, from a personal perspective, I'm for peace, right? But from a understanding how evil the Zionist entity is and what it's going to do, both in terms of the evil and the harm it's going to do in terms of killing Palestinians, killing people in Lebanon, and then killing people in Iran once they're able to restock and supply explains why you shouldn't do it. The second thing is they break the ceasefire. The third thing is this gets them to replenish their stocks, improve their defense missiles, because clearly their defense missiles weren't good enough to stop the current missiles, never mind the more advanced ones. And so I just don't understand any of this from any point of view. The only thing you can say is Iran was getting hit. We know that. We always report that Iran was getting hit. And maybe they thought if this continues, they're going to be harmed too much.
I
But
think
the point is, you take pain now to take your enemy out now, but you take pain now rather than allowing your enemy to become strong and then completely destroy you later.
I think the best way, Solomon, to describe this is a war between a psychopath and a normal, level-headed individual, right? That's I think it's the best way to describe it. You're dealing with a nation who cares nothing about morality, nothing about
And what
human life.
happens when you deal with the psycho? What should you do?
Exactly, but then you have to devolve to their level to fight the way they do. Otherwise,
They're still bombing Lebanon even today.
Adam, where are
Exactly.
you seeing that, Adam? Do you have reports or is there a link or something I'd like to read on
No,
that?
no, it is. Yeah, I reported it about 6 or 12 hours ago. South Lebanon that put the images out. So I'm guessing Adam did too.
Yeah, they've
Gotcha.
been bombing
Gotcha.
every day in Lebanon.
How good their
Yeah.
ceasefire worked. There is no ceasefire. There is no deals. There is no negotiating with the genocider entity. Look what they're doing in Gaza.
You need to deal with them in
Um,
the way they act and just not be afraid to devolve to the level, because if you're dealing with a bully and a psychopath, they're always going to win, because if you have morals and you have principles and you care about human life, then it's a hard war to win, because you can't argue with a psychopath. You can't you know.
Amir,
I'd love
jump
it.
in. You're from Iran.
Yeah, hi everybody. I just wanted to say something about this ceasefire thing. First of all, from the moment that Trump announced that, none of the Iranian officials actually uh, um, confirmed such a talk has been made. And that's why it took so long, because they didn't confirm it. And let's remember that Trump actually announced ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine before, and also announced ceasefire in Gaza before. So, we shouldn't take that much seriously. But right now, with the latest development of Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, one point we have to just keep in mind that Iran does not recognize Israel as a state. It doesn't recognize Israel as a country. So it never gets into the talks with Israel. It's not going to happen. The talks that Araghchi was, or negotiation that Araghchi was referring to before in last week, was about the nuclear program and was about the negotiation with the United States through Oman. It wasn't about negotiating with Israel, even with some country mediated. So it's not going to happen. In that context, when he tweeted this, that if the Israeli regime stops, we will also not respond anymore. It doesn't mean I don't see it as a temporary ceasefire, or I don't see it as a ceasefire. It's just a declaration of intention, from my understanding, because Iran doesn't recognize Israel, let alone to get into the ceasefire talks or negotiations.
So do you think there would be anyone, Amir, that, I mean, Trump is trying to play this game, obviously, it's what he does, but who would be trustworthy to be a mediator right now? Is there anybody?
Between which parties do you mean?
All parties. All parties. So Iran,
From my point of view, Israel needs the ceasefire more than Iran. You correctly point out the casualties of civilians here in Iran, especially in Tehran. But the point is, just accept tonight's attacks. the number of casualties was something about 500 up until last noon. And, Iran, during the 8 years of war with Iraq, we only had 20,000 civilian casualties. I understand that the means of war has been changed a lot in the last 40 years. But back then, we didn't have any missiles, we didn't have any air defense systems, and any of those things. Although the government, considering the decision that minimizes the human casualties and the civilian casualties, but I don't think it's going to fall into the priority of the government in such a situation. I mean, it's not the first priority anyway. It shouldn't be, actually, because Israel needs it more than Iran needs it, because Iran is a very big country. And if you just look at it from this point, Israel's military doctrine is pretty much similar to Nazi Germany. They attacked Poland because they thought that the territorial area of the country is small, and if they get into a war, it's not going to end up well for them, the Nazi Germany. This is the same problem Israel has right now. And that's why they are thinking about the plan of the Great Israel, if you know about it, that they want to come to the even invading Iraq or something in the future. They just dream of it. So I think Israel needs a ceasefire more than Iran needs it.
Thanks for that, Amir. Got some more news. A third. Let's get this up.
Yo, Henry, you got to repost this space to be on stage.
Third military base in Iraq
Done.
hit by drone
Got it.
strike. So third military base in Iraq hit by drone strike.
Are they saying who it's from? Probably Israel.
Iraqi resistance.
Did you hear another post? Read another post from Iraqi again. He says the military operations of our powerful armed forces to punish Israel for its aggression continued until the very last minute at 4 a.m. Together with all Iranians, I thank our brave armed forces who remain ready to defend our dear country until the last drop of blood, and who responded to any attack by the enemy until the very last minute. That's his tweet.
So where were these attacks?
Exactly. Until the very, and where were they? We haven't seen any.
So that's just a blag to make it look like, because we're asking the question like Israel got a bomb to the last minute, and then he's saying, yeah, we got to as well.
Except we are hearing attacks from Iraqi resistance on American bases, right?
Yeah, but
that's not
then,
them.
they're separate from the Iranian regime, though.
They are separate, but in a way, it's considered to be. I think that's the kind of response that you should expect. It's like, yeah, we will stop, but
But that
we
doesn't
won't.
count as their response, because if it does, that would be an attack on the US. Then that would be you'd be back to square one, where the US needs to respond.
Oh yeah, in the way I say, yeah, it's difficult to express this, but it's still a counter move. It's still pressure. Yes, it's not directly from Iran, just as Israel has been doing whatever it's been doing with American support all the way in this action, not just like a couple of days ago, right?
I just want to add something else, that probably Iran didn't want Trump to get credit for such a ceasefire per se. That's why they didn't confirm it, nor they reject it. And Iraqi is making the points like this that he mentioned in his tweet.
Well, he's going to take the credit, and rightly so, if they stop now, because it appears that whether Trump intended it or not, it was Trump who seemed like he initiated it, and all parties agreed. So yeah, Trump will probably get the credit. I don't believe it's a way of
Proper
looking at it.
kayfabe,
Sure,
right?
exactly.
It's proper kayfabe again. This is what it is: wrestling match, American professional wrestling. For his audience, of course, that's a win, and for the Iranian audience, who
How wasn't it a
knows?
win? How wasn't it a win?
No, it is a win. It's kayfabe though. It's just
No, but
theatrics.
you said it. You said it's a win for his audience. I'm trying to understand how it's only a win for his audience. Like, if there's a ceasefire, it's a win for him.
Yeah, for sure, and his audience. Like I don't like to who else is it a win for? Really, if you're like on the ground,
Israel.
if you look at what's really
Israel.
happened,
A win for Israel as well. It's a
look.
win for the
I'm not.
Zionists.
Well, they suffered a lot in this
That's
particular
why
round.
that's why it's a win for them.
Yeah.
They suffered a lot
Not
in
only,
had
That
the
the
not only did
fact
they
buffalo.
no
No, the
no.
ceasefire. He's talking about the
The
ceasefire, man.
ceasefire,
Yeah.
you're not understanding.
Okay,
You need
okay.
to listen. Do you want to listen?
Yes, yes.
So the ceasefire is a win for them because, as per what you're claiming, which I agree with, that they suffered significantly, and therefore, if this continued, it could have been the complete eradication of Israel. And so, if you were dealing with a situation where it was a existential crisis, where your existence was in question, and then you managed to get a ceasefire to save your existence, that is a win.
Okay, the only thing I would say to that is a ceasefire can benefit both sides. And we saw this all the way through the Russia-Ukraine war, where there
I
were
don't care about
multiple
Russia, Ukraine.
ceasefires.
Explain to me why. I don't care about any analogies, any comparisons. Explain to me why. Explain
Rearming,
to me why
refueling.
it's a win, why it's not a win for Israel.
It may be a temporary win for Israel if you want to perceive it that way. Strategically, over the long run, maybe Iran is refueling, rearming, and getting ready for another strike.
look, this is equivalent to Iran. They started the fight. Iran took them to deep waters, and all of a sudden, Israel said, "Look, let's stop now because they have the lot." And Iran agrees, "Yeah, let's stop now." And then they punch. Then Israel punches them the last two times before the bell and say, "Yeah, I won." And then the referee says, "Yeah, you basically won."
Right, just a cheap shot going out the door. Exactly.
Yeah, kayfabe. It's just wrestling. It's not a military.
Kayfabe.
All right, guys, I'm shutting down for the night. Thanks for watching. Check out the spaces where you can continue to watch if you want to on X. I will be on tomorrow night as well. Thanks for watching. See you all later.